That's what's going on. Did y'all see the interviews today? Sophie Cunningham just exposed Stephanie White. Flat out exposed her. This is wild, y'all. This is crazy.
Another video, and it looked like Sophie Cunningham has set the record straight about this Indiana Fever offense.
Sophie Cunningham ne jo kuch kaha, usni surfike simple interview ka hissa nahi banaya, usni goya az sakhai sab kusamni rak di jo shayad Indiana Fever ki team anda hai anda se mesus ka rahi thai, lekin ken ki himmat kisi mai nahi thai. Uski bat ne surfek broken offense ko point out nahi kia, usni puri team ki leadership, strategy or vision pass awal athay, jahan game ku bad confusion, lack of chemistry, or inconsistent performances fans ko ha bar disappoint kati rahi hain. Cunningham ne been a kissy fear ku Stephanie White ki coaching decisions ko open challenge kia, ye ke ka ku unk decisions not only questionable hain, balke damaging p hain, especially Jabek Young, once in a generation player Jay's Caitlin Clark team ka hissa ho. Or Jab Bart Caitlin Clark Tak Pahanchi, To Sophie Ne Kuche's words Ka Istamal Kia Jo Kissy Earthquake Se Kam Nahitha. Usni Hint Kia Ku Caitlin Ko properly utilize Nahi Kia Jaraha, Uski potential Ko waste Kia Ja Raha High, or instead of building the team around her brilliance, Unhia's systems mind Faza Dia Gaia High Jo outdated or ineffective Hain. Ye revelation surf shocking Nahi Balke deeply concerning Hain. Kyunki Jab Apki franchise player frustrated ho, or Baki players outspoken hone lag jain, to samaj Jauku system mine kuch fundamentally wrong high. Or Sabse Daravni Bart Yer Haiku Yer Sabkuch as Wakt Samni Aa Raha High Jab Stephanie White already under massive pressure hain, media or fans ku criticism Ka Samna Kara He hain, or Unka coaching career ek Nazak Morpar Kora High. Cunningham Kuyer Alfar Surfike player Ka Gusanahi, Balke ek warning shot hain, ek wake up call hain. Jo Batata Haiku Agar ABP Kuch Badla Nahi, To Surf Games Nahi Harain GE, Balke Ek Puri Generation Ka Trust P Ko Bait Hain GE.
What's going on? I mean, I know what's going on. Stephanie White's a bum and needs to be fired. That's what's going on.
What do you think? Did Sophie Cunningham do the right thing by finally speaking her truth out in the open, or should she have stayed silent and kept this behind closed doors like so many others? Tell me in the comments, because this moment could define the rest of the Indiana Fever season. Sophie Cunningham just dropped what might be the harshest and most brutally honest public critique of the Fever's coaching staff that we've seen all year, and to be completely honest, it was long overdue. Somebody needed to say it. Somebody needed to break the silence, and Sophie had the courage to be that voice. This wasn't diplomacy. This wasn't a sugar-coated response or a vague hint dropped in frustration. No, this was a direct, fearless, and emotionally charged takedown of Stephanie White's entire offensive system, calling it out for what it truly is, a complete failure. A system that's not only collapsing under pressure, but one that's actively holding back Caitlin Clark, a generational talent who deserves far more than this chaotic, directionless mess. Sophie's words weren't just criticism. They were a rallying cry, a reflection of what so many fans, analysts, and even players have quietly been thinking but were too afraid to say. And now that the truth is out there, the question is, will the Fever finally wake up, or will they crumble under the weight of their own denial?
And you guys are still experiencing some inconsistency, whether it be on and off the court. Obviously, rosters change too. Just what do you think going forward you guys need to do to get some consistency?
Man, I think that everyone saw that we kind of got some flow when Kate was hurt and our offense was clicking. But now we have to have a new offense when she's in there because she just brings that much to the game. And so we have to adjust. And I think...
Let's dive into exactly what Sophie Cunningham said, because every single word she spoke wasn't just honest, it was razor-sharp, deliberate, and absolutely devastating. There was no sugarcoating, no dodging, no polite deflection. When asked about the team's painful inconsistency, she didn't hesitate for even a second. She came out and said flatly that when Caitlin Clark is on the floor, the Indiana Fever don't just need small changes or a few play tweaks, they need an entirely different offensive system. That's not just a critique, that's a direct hit at the very foundation of Stephanie White's coaching philosophy. In other words, Sophie basically told the world that the current offense is so broken, so misaligned with Clark's game, that it needs to be scrapped and rebuilt from the ground up. But the most brutal moment, the one that hit like a gut punch, came when Sophie said, "We got some flow when Kate was hurt and our offense was clicking. But now we have to have a new offense when she's in there because she just brings that much." That statement, on the surface, sounds complimentary, but dig deeper and it's absolutely damning. What she's really saying is, our offense only works when Caitlin Clark isn't even playing, but when she is, everything falls apart. That's not just a criticism of the system, that's an indictment of a coaching staff completely failing to build around their best player. It's a bold, brutal, and unfiltered evaluation of Stephanie White's leadership, and it just might be the harshest reality check this team has faced all season.
I think all of us just want it now. We know what the potential of this team can be, but we can't think about that. You really have to take day to day, and stuff that worked here, we need to carry it over to tomorrow's game. We have a lot of games coming up, and I think like 7 days or whatnot, and so it's mentally making sure that we're good. It's physically making sure we're getting recovery, making sure we're taking care of our bodies off the court, but we're trying to figure it out, and I think you guys see it. I think we're all a little frustrated. We're trying to figure out what's clicking, what's not clicking, what works for us defensively, but at the end of the day, I think what we can hang our hat on is not getting outworked, making sure that we're the aggressors, making sure that we're getting boards, controlling what we can control. And I think we need to do a better job at that. And if we can do that, I think stuff offensively will open up for us.
The exact same rigid, predictable motion offense that Stephanie White has been stubbornly forcing on this Indiana Fever team from the very start of the season, a system that feels less like strategy and more like sabotage. Week after week, game after game, she's doubled down on an offensive approach that clearly isn't working, refusing to evolve, refusing to listen, and worst of all, refusing to build around the one player who could actually turn this franchise around. That same broken system has reduced Caitlin Clark, arguably the most transcendent talent women's basketball has seen in a generation, into a stationary spot-up shooter, robbed of her rhythm, her freedom, her magic. Instead of letting her dictate the pace, create plays, and orchestrate like the floor general she's been her entire career, they've clipped her wings and shoved her into a box that's beneath her brilliance. And now, finally, Sophie Cunningham, a seasoned veteran who knows this league inside and out, has said out loud what millions have been thinking: give Caitlin the ball and let her cook. Let her lead. Let her breathe. Let her save this sinking ship before it's too late. But what makes this moment even more powerful and dangerous is that Sophie isn't some frustrated bench player or emotional rookie. She's been around. She understands what it means to publicly challenge a coach. She knows the risks. She knows the politics. And yet, she still chose to speak boldly, directly, and without filters. That tells you everything you need to know about the state of this locker room. The frustration isn't just bubbling under the surface, it's boiling over. And the timing? Absolutely brutal. The Fever just suffered a humiliating loss at the hands of Golden State, their season is spiraling into inconsistency and disarray, and now one of their most respected voices is essentially telling the media that the entire coaching structure is fundamentally flawed. This isn't just a critique of play calling, this is a full-scale indictment of Stephanie White's leadership, her decision-making, and her inability to adapt to the superstar talent she's been given. And make no mistake, when a respected veteran goes public like this, especially at a moment of crisis, it's not just noise. It's a warning shot. It's a signal that trust inside the team is crumbling. And in the harsh reality of professional sports, these are the kinds of moments that don't just spark change, they end coaching careers.
Will open up for us.
Do you feel like that's part of your role, I guess, when it comes to aggression, grit, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just making sure our energy is where it needs to be. It's making sure our focus is where it needs to be. I think we're all a little bit exhausted, but everyone is. We have a lot of games this season, and that's part of being a pro. And what a blessing we get to dribble in orange basketball for a living. And so sometimes it's taking a step back and having a better perspective and being grateful for it. But I think tomorrow night you're going to see a lot of fight. We're starting to get a little bit pissed off, and that's, I think, what we need. We need a fire under our butts, and we should have had yesterday. We have to give credit to them. They're a great team, the Valkyries, but it's not to our standard. And so we need to. We're running out of time, to be honest, and I think that it's going to light a fire under our butts. And so hopefully you'll see kind of that energy shift tomorrow.
Sophie Cunningham's candid remark about the need to adjust the offense whenever Caitlin Clark is on the floor isn't just a passing observation, it's a devastating revelation that shines a bright, unforgiving light on the core failure of Stephanie White's entire coaching philosophy. It exposes a flaw so fundamental, so glaring, that it's hard to believe it has persisted this long without being addressed. Rather than crafting a system that amplifies the strengths of the most gifted player on her roster, a generational talent with court vision, scoring ability, and basketball IQ that rivals the all-time greats, White has inexplicably chosen to cram Clark into a rigid structure that neutralizes everything that makes her special. This isn't just poor judgment. It's coaching malpractice of the highest order. The offensive system Sophie hinted at, the read and react style, is exactly what Clark thrived in at Iowa, and it's no coincidence that her most effective professional moments have come when the offense flowed through her hands. That style of play puts the ball in the point guard's control, empowering them to read the defense in real time, make dynamic decisions, and create for themselves and others. It's fast, fluid, intuitive, and it's tailor-made for Caitlin Clark. But instead of embracing that, Stephanie White has insisted on running a motion offense that treats every player on the court as an equal decision-maker, ignoring the fact that not everyone possesses Clark's instincts, vision, or ability to change the game in an instant. And the most frustrating part of all this? The solution is painfully obvious. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to give Clark the ball, let her run the floor, control the tempo, and dictate the offense, exactly as she's done her entire career. She's not a catch-and-shoot player, and she shouldn't be spending entire possessions running around off-ball screens, waiting for scraps. She's a commander, a floor general, the engine of any elite offense. Sophie's admission that the team plays with two entirely different identities depending on whether Clark is on the court isn't just a tactical concern, it's a symptom of deep dysfunction. In the professional ranks, your system is supposed to adapt to your star, not force the star to shrink into something she's not. The fact that the Fever are effectively two different teams based on Clark's availability doesn't speak to flexibility, it screams chaos. It shows there is no consistent offensive identity, no guiding philosophy, no cohesive vision. And when a team doesn't know who it is, game after game, moment after moment, that's not just a problem. That's a crisis.
That's what's supposed to happen in a game, but how do you handle that? How can you mentally and physically manage that? And so I do think that's part of my role, is making sure that the team stays together, making sure that, you know, if we get a bad call or something bad happens, you come in, what are you going to do? What's the next play that we're going to do in order for us to get it back? And so we're trying to figure it out. We're all new. We have a new roster, but hopefully this one stays consistent.
Most eye-opening part of Sophie Cunningham's brutally honest commentary wasn't just in what she said, it was in what her words revealed beneath the surface. A team that's not just frustrated, but confused, exhausted, and dangerously close to a full-blown collapse. When a respected veteran like Sophie talks about players feeling a little frustrated and trying to figure out what's clicking and what's not, that's not harmless chatter, that's thinly veiled code for total systemic breakdown. It's an admission that nobody really knows what they're supposed to be doing out there, not during games, not in practices, not within the offense or defense, and that kind of confusion doesn't come from the players. It comes from the top. That's a coaching problem, clear and simple. And when a usually composed leader starts using emotionally charged language like exhausted and pissed off, it tells you one thing loud and clear: the locker room isn't just tense, it's reaching its boiling point. The chemistry is cracking. Trust is dissolving. And worst of all, belief in the coaching system is evaporating. Sophie's comment about how everyone wants to see this team's potential now is especially damning, because it suggests that the players themselves feel they are being held back by the current approach, that valuable time is being wasted trying to make a broken system work. These athletes aren't blind, they see what this roster is capable of. They know the talent is there. They know what Caitlin Clark brings. They feel the disconnect between possibility and reality. And when Sophie, a veteran leader with experience, poise, and the respect of the locker room, decides to speak up publicly, it's not just her voice echoing. It's the voice of a team that feels unheard. Her words likely carry the weight of multiple players who are too afraid or too politically cautious to say the same. But the fact that she said it out loud, for the entire world to hear, suggests that whatever conversations happened privately behind closed doors didn't lead to real change, and when internal channels fail, frustration spills out into the media. And here's what makes this an existential threat to Stephanie White's coaching tenure. Sophie didn't launch into vague complaints about effort or bad nights. No, she laid out specific, detailed, and entirely actionable critiques about the offensive system, the leadership, and the misuse of their best player. That kind of precision makes it impossible to ignore. Front offices don't dismiss these kinds of comments. They investigate them. They take them seriously. Especially when it's crystal clear, the motion offense White keeps trying to force doesn't just underutilize Clark's talents, it actively works against them. Caitlin Clark isn't some plug-and-play shooter, she's a once-in-a-generation floor general who needs to control the pace, make reads, and have the offense flow through her hands. Every time you try to reduce her to a spot-up weapon or a cutter running around pointless screens, you're throwing away what makes her elite. Sophie's remark about the team playing with more flow when Clark was injured is devastating, not because it blames Clark, far from it, but because it points to a coaching staff completely incapable of integrating their superstar. And the truth is, well-coached teams don't become disjointed when their best player steps on the floor. They become stronger. That's the whole point of elite coaching, to build around greatness, not suffocate it. But under White's leadership, everything feels backwards. The system isn't built for Clark, it's trying to change her. And that's not development. That's destruction. The emotional fatigue Sophie described, the loss of competitive edge, the need for a fire under our butts, the signs of being outworked, these are all symptoms of poor preparation, poor communication, and a crumbling belief in the system. When fans and content creators have been pointing this out for months and the coaching staff still doesn't adjust, it's no longer just bad strategy, it's a professional failure of the highest order. Sophie's acknowledgement of inconsistent effort, poor energy management, and the players' need to take a step back shows how chaotic things have become. When athletes feel they need to reset mentally because leadership isn't providing clarity or direction, you know something is fundamentally broken. The way Sophie spoke about her own role in keeping the team together exposes a harsh truth, that leadership on this team isn't coming from the bench. It's coming from inside the locker room, from the players themselves, because the coaching staff has left a vacuum. When players have to act as motivators, strategists, and morale boosters all at once, it's only a matter of time before the cracks become fractures. And those fractures are starting to show, in the inconsistent performances, in the lack of identity, and now in the very public unraveling of internal trust. Sophie's final remarks, urging the team to control what they can control, scream of players who no longer believe the big picture plan is working. When your best leaders are just trying to survive the chaos and play with emotion instead of execution, it's not just a slump, it's a system failure. And the sad part? This team has everything they need to succeed, a generational superstar in Clark, proven veterans like Sophie, and enough depth to make real noise in the playoffs. But all of that is being sabotaged by a coaching philosophy that's too rigid, too outdated, and too unwilling to adapt. Just look around the league, teams like the Liberty, who build around Sabrina Ionescu, or the Lynx, who amplify Nafisa Collier's strengths, they get it. They understand their stars and build accordingly. The Fever haven't done that. Instead, they've imposed a one-size-fits-all scheme that fits no one, especially not Caitlin Clark. Sophie's remarks weren't an emotional outburst. They were a controlled explosion of truth, voiced with the clarity of someone who's had enough. Someone who's seen what this team could be, and knows it won't happen under the current direction. And when that kind of message goes public, when internal diplomacy fails, when leadership falters and players start to rebel, something has to give. Sophie Cunningham may have just triggered a turning point in the Indiana Fever season, and possibly in Stephanie White's career. What do you think happens next?